One of the things I believe is most helpful to people post-diagnosis is community. When we speak about symptoms and experiences, we often speak in generalities. Sometimes our symptoms overlap the usual suspects. Others we never experience at all. Okay, so that was a lot of words to say. My girl, Exhausted Mom Melanie, is here with me on the show, and I jokingly call her the only organized woman with ADHD. But that's not the whole story. Come join me on Life with Lost Keys. My name is Renee Brooks, but you may have heard of me by my blog name, Black Girl Lost Keys. I started the blog to incorporate my culture into my experiences with ADHD. Managing ADHD isn't easy. We have challenges in some key areas like forgetfulness, showing up late, losing stuff, and big emotions. Sometimes you find your stuff, sometimes you find yourself. That's Life with Lost Keys. On our podcast, you'll get to be a fly on the wall to everything. Talks with friends, other ADHD adventures, and a lot more. It's time to get started. Speaking of time, this podcast is proudly sponsored by Timo, a paid subscription app that helps you organize your life, stick to your routines, and work towards your personal goals in a visual and motivating way. To learn more about Timo, head to blackgirllostkeys.com/Timo. So, Mel, tell me about Exhausted Mom.
So Exhausted Mom, it came about just as my private place to spew my mom stuff. Like, I think one of my first tweets was about how how I sneak beans and vegetables into our lasagna.
Yes.
So it started out just as my place to say all those mom things that, we think that we don't really share with our family. But then you were like, listen, the world needs this. So
I feel like
so
you're already doing it naturally. Like, I think
right,
it's really seizing on your talent.
right. And so then it became a website, and I also changed my Patreon to be the Exhausted Mom Patreon. And so I started listing those different things I do, like, this is how I organize this. These are my favorite things. So like right now there's 22 posts. I'm looking at my Patreon. There's 22 posts with lists of like things I use for this, or TV shows I watch there, and things like that. So, maybe someone who's, like I said, I'm 30 years into this. So maybe somebody who's newer into it can look at it as a resource of how to find, things that have been tried and true with a mom of four wife, who's already, figured it out. So you don't have to figure it out yourself.
That's right.
So on Patreon, I'm just Patreon/Exhausted Mom. On my website, it's exhaustedmomm.com. The M stands for Melanie. And then on Twitter, it's _exhausted_mom.
What does organization do for you as a coping skill?
For me, organization, I think is a coping skill. It's like if I feel like something is out of order, it creates like frustration and chaos. So it's like I have to be able to I don't know. And I've heard like people explain it different ways, like sometimes it's like, well, this is something you can control. I don't know if that's what it is. Or for me, it's just, I need to be able to find stuff. And, like we always talk about how people with ADHD, you have the stacks. It's like, it might be in a stack over here. And that might be your organization is I set this in this stack in this corner, right? But,
yes.
So that's the other thing is I joked about it on Twitter. Remember, I was like, my house, looks like, Martha Stewart did it, or did a tornado do your house? It's like, when I say organized, I don't want people to think that my house always looks like perfect, you know, because
That's an
that's not
important
what it
thing to know.
is. Right. It's just that, it's knowing where something is, So I don't,
Absolutely, like, being able to
yeah.
locate it in general, maybe it's not in the traditional place that, like, we're not going for Pinterest here, we're going for being able to find stuff. So, basically, we have the same cleaning philosophy, which is beautiful because 'cause we're
Yeah.
both very smart.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's like sometimes I got to get myself out of what I know is organized for me because I know externally it looks like chaos. Like, for instance, I started that second Airbnb, and when I tell you, it looked like a
Yes.
tornado hit my living room, but I had piles. I had, this is everything that's going in the kitchen, this is everything that's going in the bathroom, this is everything that's going in the bedroom, and it was piled all over my living room. So if
Hell
anybody were
yes.
walking my house, they'd be like, ah,
Ha
but that was my
Piles are what
staging.
makes everything great. Like,
Right.
piles let you know where what goes and when.
But that was my staging process as we were
Yeah.
still working on it. I don't like, and that kind of rolls into the organization thing for me. I don't do things in traditional steps. It's like some people might think, well, you're still, like, we hadn't even cleared out that apartment yet, but my brain was looking 7 steps ahead, that I know
Mhm.
that I need to. And then you also know how thrifty I am. So I don't like to
Yes,
buy things at that last minute and be forced to pay whatever. I like to be
'cause
able
it's
to
always
look and look and look.
expensive.
Right. So then that's also how I end up with piles of stuff too. So anyway. So I
But you
think
have it when you need it.
yeah, but for me, yeah, I think some people, organization, back to your original question, organization, for some people it's like they do it to cope. Like if they're stressed, then they organize things. And for some
Yes.
people, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I get stressed if I don't feel I'm sufficiently organized. You know.
That makes perfect sense, and that's a little bit different than a lot of people think of it, and I think too when people hear I'm really glad you went back in and, like, defined what organization is by your standard, because for a lot of us, organization is almost like a trigger word because we're so used to hearing how disorganized we are, and I think that it's really important for people to hear a story like yours because it opens your mind up to the concept of organization being the tool that gives you access to these things rather than organization being a moral value that you're being judged about. Like
Right.
it's important.
Right. Yeah.
So how does like okay, so we know that it's a coping skill for you. How does it ever make you feel like you're isolated or left out of the conversation when we're talking about how organization plays along with ADHD?
A lot, and I've mentioned that before too. It's like people. I think as much as people don't want to be stereotyped, they do a lot of stereotyping, and
Yes.
so you end up with people saying things like, "Oh, well, I have ADHD, so I can't get organized," and it's like, so I asked the question, so are you saying I don't have ADHD because organization is easy for me? Or, like, I don't understand, like, where are you going with that, because I do have ADHD, so you need to understand that this is your particular strong suit, and not everybody who has the same disorder or disability that you do has the exact same personality type, and
Yes.
I think that's hard for people to cognize. And I think part of that is because that's how a person creates their internal validation. If they say, "Oh, I can't do this because," so then they feel like they should be understood, and they forget that
Mhm.
that creates them not being able to understand that it's not really whatever disability or disorder, it's really, that's them. We're all different. So yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah.
If you're being isolated from the community, what support would you like to see in place of that?
I just think, and it's the same thing when I talk about rare diseases. I
Yes.
tweet a lot about how doctors will say, well, this doesn't present in Black people. And what they're really saying is when Black people come to them with this list of issues, they ignore them, or
Yes.
they excuse it as something else. And so then the data doesn't get collected. And,
Absolutely.
so there's a confirmation bias. And the unfortunate thing about social media is I think we're all sitting behind our computers and we see people saying people with ADHD don't organize. And so all of the people who do are just like, well, I'm not going to hop into that conversation because I don't want to be yelled at. And so before you know it, all of the people who are organized with ADHD are, they never have a space. So I think that I hope that as much as I don't organize myself as the lady with ADHD who organizes, that this is an opportunity maybe for some people who listen to you because it's like, you're the ADHD guru to go, oh, okay, here's a spot. Here's my niche.
There
Somebody
are
sees me.
people who do this. Yes. Like there's a Shelly, I don't know if you know Shelly. Shelly Collins is a she's an ADHD coach, but she didn't start as an ADHD coach. She started as a professional organizer, and she is not the only professional organizer with ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a thing. It's kind of like we think of our ADHD and our capability as one thing. I actually think, and like, there's no science behind this, y'all. So, like, don't hold my feet to the fire in the comments because I'm just theorizing. But I really feel like there are things we're naturally good at, and then there are things that our symptoms make harder for us.
Right. Right.
Some people are naturally organized. There are
Right.
plenty of people who are.
Right. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like we all have different talents, right? And then we have our disorders. And so, like, sometimes we'll joke, what do people think the H stands for? So it's like this person might think
Yes,
they're an organization person, but if they had ADHD and they saw the way that, like, we go, it's like you get it maybe done
exactly.
faster. Or there's also the fact that we think differently, so I might not think the same way as an organizer with who doesn't have ADHD, but that doesn't mean that my methods and her methods are wrong.
No, it's just a different method for a different approach. And I think therein lies the thing, even when we're talking about like conventional, like kind of wisdom and advice around housekeeping, cooking, whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that stuff presents the way as the way, and it's rigid and it's rules, and it's more like cooking. When you're cooking a recipe, I already know you Betty Crocker over there. So like when you're making a recipe, like how often do you have a recipe that you already know, like, yeah, this is the basic, but I add this and this in addition to what's written into the recipe, or maybe I want to try different flavoring. So it's like you learn how to make things your own rather than just sticking to the rigid rules, which is what I think a lot of us come in expecting, because people with ADHD can be very prone to black and white thinking. So it's either this rigid set of rules or it's wrong. And that's not the way to success with trying to manage ADHD.
Right. Yeah. I laugh about just the way I talk about recipes in itself is a whole ADHD experience. I don't do that the way that, we've been taught, okay, you have to tell somebody exactly how much to put on there. You got to tell
Yes,
them what temperature. And then my brain goes, I'm not going to tell you what temperature to put your oven on because we're in different places. Your oven's a different brand. You might have gas, you might have electric. So I don't
yes,
lay down unnecessary rules. I'm like, how do I tell you how much salt you want in your food? So
yes.
so I know my sometimes the way I go about doing recipes might annoy people because it's not what they're. I don't do the rigid thing. I'm like, yeah, throw some salt in there, taste it, see if you like it. I'm like, cook it till it's done.
What's the internal temperature? And you'd be like, you got a meat thermometers are new to me, like within the last 3-4 years, and I'm just like, how did you know when the meat was done before? And I'm like, I don't know, I just know.
You just know, Well, I would with my meat. I just cut it open. I'm like, ain't got to do
Oh
more.
yeah.
You do not want to. It's so funny. I've told you before, but to tell the audience, one of my daughters went to culinary school. I trigger her so bad. She's also two of my kids don't have ADHD and two do, and she doesn't have ADHD. So imagine she's been in culinary school and she doesn't have
Oh my
ADHD. Okay. And so I do some of the most non culinary things, like with
gosh.
chicken. I'll cook the two sides and then I cut it open. And if it's not done, I'll take it and stick it up on the cut sides so the heat goes.
It gets like it lets the temperature flow up into the. You know what? I'm with you. And as somebody who was married to like, okay, so like here's fun like confessional time podcast listeners. If you didn't already know, I used to be married to a professional chef with ADHD, funny enough, but having a professional watch you in the kitchen and
Yes.
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's like I'm not doing all of that stuff
Yes.
you want me to do. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So we know what kind of support you need. Like it really sounds like more than someone actively coming in to support. It's more so like a hey, open your mind to the idea that we're all doing something differently, and just because you cannot do it that way, that's not invalidating your experience or mine. They're just two separate experiences.
Exactly. Yeah. I think there needs to be more, people need to be more open minded. And like you said, there is that black and white. I know I have things I'm black and white about. And it's
Yeah,
funny because sometimes you and I are things that we're black and white about, they don't match up,
at all.
But that's not to say that you think the
That's where
person's
mutual
closed
respect
minded.
comes in. That's right.
It's just different, and I think that's the other thing. If we're talking to somebody on the internet and they don't, or somebody you have a quick conversation with, they feel judged by the fact that you're saying that that's closed, so yeah, it's just one of those
Yeah.
things that it'll change slowly, I think, as more people feel safe to say, hey, my house is organized without getting yelled at.
Yes. And it's like, again, like organization, we have to separate the idea of organization away from the aesthetics that we associate it
Right,
with.
right,
Like,
and
that is
then
a really big thing.
we've talked about like the physical part of organization, and then there's just time too. And
Yes.
it's funny because your books with me resonate with me on time, even though I'm not
Um,
late to stuff, you know
yes.
and I that's another one. People are like, yes, I can't be on time because I have ADHD, and it's like, no. And
I am frequently on time. You need supports to be on time. It's like, it's almost like they want to, all right, for lack of a better term, they want to like raw dog their way into being,
uh-huh,
but it's like, I'm just going to get better at time because one day it's going to click. It's not going to click. Nobody ever asks, what supports do you have to put in place to be on
right,
time? That means I have to read my schedule the night before and know what's going on. That means I have to have my smart devices in place to scream at me about being on a meeting, plus my phone yells at me.
right,
Plus, the closer it gets to the time, because I am truly like my time perception is completely thrown.
mm-hmm,
So when it's 5 minutes until my appointment, I'm not floating around someplace like I'm taking the device that I'm holding with me.
right,
I'm saying, hey, we got 5 minutes till this. You let me know when
right.
5 minutes are up. It's a lot, but in situations where timeliness is required, it gets it done for me.
That's what
And
you
that's
have to do, right?
now, having heard me say all the things it takes for me to be on time, you realize I'm not committing to being there at a time unless I know I'm willing to do all of those things to be there.
And that's what
That
I think. See, you can't say it because you're the nice one, but I'll say it. I some people, I see the attitude of I can't do that, and it's people are being unaccessible to me if they don't understand that I can't do that. And it's like, no, but you can do things to make it happen, you know.
you can do
And I
things to accommodate yourself,
yeah.
and that keeps your power with you.
Yeah. And so that's what's funny for me too, because sometimes people think like they're cured of something if they don't have a certain symptom. It's like I'm not
Yeah,
late to stuff. That doesn't cure me of my time perception problems. I can see it when I'm trying to talk to somebody about when something happened or when something's gonna happen, and it's so messed up, or being able to tell how long something's gonna be, or
yes.
you see it, even though somebody else externally doesn't see it the same way that you do, so
My
So
friend
yeah.
Inger, she talks about being like a duck that's floating gently and majestically across the water, but underneath, you're
Yes.
paddling as hard as you possibly can. But all
Yeah.
anyone sees is that graceful glide, and they
Yeah.
don't understand the conflict and the challenges that are going into you being able to paddle your way through that stream.
Yes, I love that example. Yes, yes, yes. That's it.
Routine can be the glue that holds our executive function together. If you're struggling to create a routine and you need some help, I'd recommend you take a look at our sponsor, Timo. It's a paid subscription app that helps you organize your life, stick to your routines, and work towards your personal goals in a visual and motivating way. To learn more about Timo, head to blackgirllostkeys.com/Timo. Again, that's blackgirllostkeys.com/Timo, Tiimo. So my last question for you, last dish, because you never know where we might go, but whatever.
Hmm.
Um, Organizing. It consumes a lot of bandwidth for me. Does it do that for you? And if so, what are you doing to pour back into yourself when you put out that kind of energy?
It doesn't. It's weird. I get like satisfaction from, like I said, from having it organized.
So
So
it's
the
like a
band,
safety thing. It makes you feel
it,
better.
it makes me feel better. I'm the opposite. Like I said, like I use
Yeah.
the example because it's more recent. Of I recently tweeted about my husband saying he lost his wallet. My husband also has ADHD. He's
Yes.
hilarious. It depends on the day whether he says he does or not, but he does. But he lost his wallet, and so I'm like, how we'll feel better is if we know where the wallet belongs. And then for me, it's like, but is the wallet where it belongs? It's like we
Like,
know it's
where
right
does the
there.
wallet belong? Then it turns
You know,
into a philosophical discussion about the wallet,
right?
which, to be fair, like, I hope you all are listening to this. Like, you want to know how organized people are really organizing? They're thinking about the processes that they're using to accomplish what they want to accomplish
Yes,
and tweaking them where they don't work.
right. I think like the reason why, remember when Maria Kondo first came out, and like everybody was really triggered. I think
I love
people's
her so much, and I don't understand why people hated it. It's beautiful.
I think their perception of an organizer coming in is that this person's going to tell me how to live my life. I don't want my shoes there. I don't want this there. Da, da, da. And it's like for me, my concept of organizing is like you said, it's like, but where do we need this thing? When do we
To
usually
connect.
go for it? Where
Yes,
is, what, am I
come
bending
on.
over? Am I standing up? And all of those things are important, like you with your bedside organizer and your glasses organizers, which I love both of those. And
Thank you.
the question is, I'm blind without my glasses. I know I need to know where they are so that I can see to go on with my life. So it's like I know I need that glasses organizer right next to my bed where I can reach it. When I go to bed
Yeah,
at night, my phone goes in the closest spot next to me on my nightstand because I know it's one of the first things I reach for. And my glasses, it's like I wouldn't put a stack of books right next to me on the nightstand and then have my phone across the nightstand. It doesn't make sense.
yes,
And so that's the part
exactly.
that a good organizer thinks about what you need, where it needs to be, how you're going to use it. So I did find a place for my husband's wallet, but I evaluated. He's going out the
Yeah,
door, and when you're leaving out the door, when you grab your wallet. So I ended up putting it next to the door that we go out of the most. I wouldn't
yeah.
put it in the living room, because we don't
Nope,
go out the front door.
exactly that. Like, if you don't, like, in order to organize, like, geez, especially like when a client comes to me and they're disorganized, like, I need you to take me through your whole day.
Yeah,
When you get up, what are the items you need? When you're cooking, what are the items you need? When you're cleaning the bathroom, what are the items you need?
right.
To
Mm-hmm.
me, you need to have more than one of certain items because what I'm not going to do is traipse my ass down to the downstairs bathroom
Yes,
to come
to
back
get
up and
that.
touch the upstairs toilet. Like,
Yes.
it's wasting my
Or
time.
let's keep it real. At some point, any person with ADHD, I don't care how organized they are, you're gonna set something down and forget where you put it. So you need
Yes,
another one. Why spend an
yes.
hour looking for something? Just go grab another one and it'll pop up when it pops up, you know?
Girl, yes. Like every room in my house has scissors, a trash can, and wipes. If it ain't got nothing else, because I'm gonna have to
Yes.
cut something open. I'm gonna need to get rid of the trash. I'm gonna need to wipe something, and I'm gonna need to get rid of the trash. Like I have a laptop charger in every
Yes.
room of my
Tell
apartment.
it. Tell it. That is, it's so
Like
funny how, like, I love connecting with people with ADHD and you hear how many things it's like, okay, I am saying this is normal, you know?
you are.
But listen, I
Ooh,
have so
girl.
many. I have one laptop and I have like 4 or 5 chargers, and I purposely, and you know this, I purposely
Yes.
buy the same things because then they're interchangeable. So when I look for another laptop, like for my husband, I buy him the one that uses the same charger I use,
You damn right.
you know, so that
Like, that's how we're
stress.
organized. We've got a system in place that
Yes.
works for us, and what works for me is not having to look for shit all the
Yes.
time, especially common house. There's a phone charger in my every room of my house is set up for me to wander in with my
Yes.
laptop or wander in with the mail, which I'm actually trying to, like, retrain myself around the way I do mail, but that's a whole 'nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think, like, and it sounds to me like, oh, this is the question that I knew we were going to get another question out of this. Your husband was on board when you told him, hey, we need to find a better place for the wallet. How do you, like, do you deliver that kind of news gently? Do they go kicking and screaming? If they do, what do you hit them over the head with? Can we get it on Amazon?
No, see, you know, I have been married for 25 years. We've been
Yeah.
together for 30 years, which sounds insane to say out loud. But so I have to, there are some things, I'm a very frank person. I'll just say it. I'm
Yes.
like, so it's like you lost your wallet. Okay, well, we need to find a place for that wallet, and this can this will totally digress into something else, but because one of my favorite people just is Jeff Lewis, and Jeff Lewis does that to people too. He will tell you something, and then it's almost like people don't take me seriously when I say stuff sometimes because I just say it, and I'm like, oh,
Yes.
we're never. And
Yes.
next thing you know, I'm at IKEA buying I'm buying the thing for it, and then I'm on Amazon buying the felt to make the drawer, or it snowballed into a whole
Yes,
thing.
you take decisive action. You be like, so we need to pay for the wallet. I need it today because we ain't never doing this wallet
It's
shit
like,
again.
yeah. Okay, and so it's funny, like sometimes it'll be like, no, I'm not going along with that. And then sometimes it's just like, yeah, because what with the wallet, it's like he knows he doesn't want to keep losing it. So it's like, fine, if he doesn't have a idea, so but yeah, he doesn't always go with what I say. I don't have any magic juice after 30 years. I do not. And then as any neurodiverse person knows, it's like, you know, two people meeting together in the exact same place at the same time is always like very difficult to accomplish. So
Yes.
it just is what it is. But that one, the wallet thing worked out. But like I said, then I become I am the police. I am the organization police in the house. But I'm like, you know what? I'm the wife and the mom, so I'm allowed. But it's like
I
I
always
will.
am wherever I go to. It's very like this is my house and
I
we're
open the
going.
drawer and I'm like, I made you a nice spot. Where is the
And you know what? Like when I find that I'm getting a lot of pushback or that item is routinely not landing back in its space, then it's like people are very willing to keep what's not working if it means that they don't have to think of
right?
a new solution. And I don't think that they realize how they're doing that to themselves. So if, for instance, in this scenario, husband kept coming back where the wallet wasn't where it was, okay, now we need to have a discussion about, well, where you think your wallet goes then, because you're
Right.
going to have a place. Like if you leave it around, I got to have a place that I can take it back to, that you're going to know where it is. I need to, like, we all need to collectively understand this is
Right.
where
And you know
dad's
what?
wallet goes. So if not
Right. And I
here,
think one
where?
thing that helped to be more palatable too with that is, and I have a couple links that I got to boost when we post this, and one of them is this whole wallet deal. I think what
Please, like, email them to me so I can
yeah.
put them in the show
Okay, but
notes.
but it's not like accusatory because it's not just the wallet drawer. It's also we this business,
No, of
and so
course.
we have so many locks in this house. It's crazy. And so, there's places for each key now, so that we know, okay, this is for this unit, this is for that, this is for the back door, so all of that
Yeah.
stuff goes there. It just became a center for items that we would need, So I think that helps sometimes too,
Yes.
just making it so it's not like you're being attacked because you're a disorganized slob,
Yes, like, we are still like, you have to have an intervention. Like, girl, could you imagine me walking into an intervention for the disorganized? They'd be like, "So, Brooks, we've heard about you."
Mm-mm.
Like, I just feel like one of the things that you have to organize to know as a person with ADHD when you're trying to learn how to organize is you have to take time and look at yourself. Like, what is the thing you routinely run into? Like, I got a
Mm-hmm.
set of jewelry and cosmetics that's in my suitcase. I am not allowed to touch them. It doesn't matter if I think they would look cute with my outfit. It doesn't matter if I'm out of deodorant. I will go buy new deodorant. That suitcase deodorant is
Yes.
off limits.
Same
It's a
way.
hard
Same way.
but because then it's always there when
For
you
me,
need
it's
it.
my purse. That's another thing that I can
Yes,
send you to. I've taken pictures, but I have a purse station, you know. So I have the little minis of
yes,
everything, and I have a particular bag that no matter which purse I'm using, that bag is going in the purse, and then I have a couple extra things. It's
yep.
like for me, and you should appreciate this. If you don't do it, do it. I always have at least one allergy pill in there because, and
Yes,
that's
girl,
non-touchable. Okay, if I
yes.
run out, I don't go grab the one for the purse. No, 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 no. You go get some more.
No.
you know.
Because when you do and you reach for that pill and it's not
Right.
there, you'll never do it again.
And
You'll be
then you
so
need to,
hurt.
I don't care if you need to have Siri tell you or Alexa tell you or your phone beep at you. If you've used it while you're out, you need to remember to replenish it because the last thing you need is next time you need it,
Yes,
it's not there, you know? So yeah, I am all
speak
about
on it.
having duplicates of stuff. And I think we've been told like that it's wasteful or we worry about expiration date. It might
Yes,
expire without you never using it, but it's better that you have it when you need it.
I agree. And like when it comes to like when we're thinking about expense and what costs and what's a waste and what's not, like I don't know if y'all heard me when we were talking about the plunger being downstairs and I said it is a waste
Mm-hmm.
of my time. Having for which room I left the charger in last time
It's a
is
waste of
a
time. It could
waste of
take an
my
hour
time.
or more. It could take hours of looking. And why do that?
Yes. And the frustration levels that you reach during that and the loss of time from you doing what you actually need to do. So like it's a small expense. Like my laptop charger to buy a new one, I think is like 15 bucks. I will
Yes.
spend the 15 bucks not to spend 5 hours a week
Just because the
chasing
way
this
you're talking
charger
about it,
around the
I
room.
think that you suffer from the same issue I do. When I'm looking for something, my brain almost shuts off and I don't
Yes.
I'm so like frantic and frustrated that I can't remember where it
Yep.
was. I can't begin to look for it. And then that becomes the bigger issue. So it's like I can't put myself in a position to where I'm stressed looking.
It's really important to remember that while we share experiences, those experiences aren't always identical, even if they're very similar. Let's leave room for everyone's stories. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Life with Lost Keys. You saw the pictures of the road trip on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. If you didn't, you need to go follow me on those social media networks because we did an 11-hour road trip with a neurodivergent child, 2 neurodivergent adults, and a dog whose neurodivergence is in question. In any event, I'm recording this post-trip so you know I survived. You'll get to hear about it on the next episode of Life with Lost Keys. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to Life with Lost Keys. If you enjoyed what you hear, go ahead and leave us a review and share us with whoever you like sharing your podcasts with from whatever platform you like listening to them on. If you're loving what you hear, please support us at patreon.com/Black Girl Lost Keys.